Sweet death, take me home. Okay, so last night was UFC on ESPN 1. We're going to look at two fights today, and not in the way we normally do. If you notice, what I normally do is, and the way this segment is typically set up, I really like it when I have a day to prep, so Sunday, and I usually like it when the fights go a little bit longer. I can dig into some of the details and what people are setting up and what they're looking for. I didn't really get that opportunity with last night's results. There was a couple fights you could have done that with, but not the ones of significance. So here's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at the Cain Velasquez one just to see, not to break down fight film in that way, but to see to what extent was it a bad knee, to what extent was it a punch. We'll look at that a little bit. But the one I really wanted to look at, and where we're going to start, is Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie's win over Alex Caceres. Okay, what do we want to say about that? There's a lot of things I want to say. Let me start with a general disclaimer. I would imagine that if the Gracie brothers, Henner and Huron, do a Gracie breakdown, they'll do a better job than me. I always tell you guys, I don't present my findings to you as the authoritative ones, as the best ones, or the only ones. I present them to you as mine. I always encourage folks to go and look for other people's opinions. In fact, one of the pieces of constructive criticism I got from last week's Monday Morning Analyst was I didn't pay attention enough to the hand fighting from Opposite Stances. Duly noted. That was from somebody who's a fighter. In any event, that's not what I want to focus in on here, although hand fighting we're going to get to. We're not going to do striking. We're going to do, obviously, what he did in jiu-jitsu. Let me make a bit of a statement here in addition to that general disclaimer, which is you're going to find a lot. If you don't know anything about the rear naked choke and back control, when I tell you that there are extraordinary levels to it, when I tell you that it is very complicated, when I tell you that there are concepts and systems that have to be implemented, I am not exaggerating, right? You're going to find people who know a lot more about back control than me, and you're going to find people who know a lot more than them, and a lot more than them, and a lot more than them. Back control is incredibly important. Back control is so utterly essential, and it's not really all that well done in modern MMA. You can find a lot of people that can get to the back, but you have a lot of people who have two problems. One, they can't control the back, and two, they can't finish from the back. And the finishing from the back is the biggest problem. You'll recall when I was going about the fight, Kevin Lee versus Ali Quinta, the rematch, you saw that Kevin Lee was able to get his way to the back and then hold it with a body triangle, but he couldn't ultimately finish. Now, Kevin Lee's a very, very talented fighter. He's still in his 20s. Unlike Kron Gracie, this is not, jiu-jitsu is not all he does everything else. So you have to give him some time to really get up there. But this is the point. You can find very elite fighters, and I would classify Kevin Lee as a very elite fighter, who are good at getting to the back, but not necessarily great finishers. In fact, if you think about it, how many people are really strong finishers from the back in modern elite MMA? Hardly anybody. Hardly anybody. Even Demian Maia, who's very, very good from the back. And I would classify him as a very good finisher, don't get me wrong. But even he can sometimes run into some problems. Dude, finishing from the back, it's like Mount. It's a lost art. A lot of people just want to get to the position and do ground and pound or use it to set up something else. Some people don't even want to ride from the back at all. They just want to get you to turtle, and rather than sinking the near side hook, and they just want to put a seatbelt arm around you and then pound on you, do wrist control, because going to the back, maybe you lose it, blah, 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 blah. But then a guy like Kron Gracie comes around and shows you that, yeah, maybe those guys don't want to really worry about taking the back. Maybe those guys aren't good finishers from the back, but that's not a problem that he has to deal with. What was so amazing about what he did, and yeah, it's his UFC debut. You don't want to go too crazy with the hyperbole here, but it just shows you what a real finisher from the back looks like. Alex Caceres never had a prayer with the hand fighting. When you go back and you watch it, which we're going to look at, you're going to immediately realize it was over as soon as it started. It was never going to go his way. It just wasn't possible. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. Put this up here if you don't mind. I don't have a slide where I put up all my insights and I crystallize everything. There's just not enough material to work with here. I could probably do it, but it's his UFC debut. You don't want to go too crazy. The only thing I mentioned before is you're going to find people that have extraordinary back expertise. John Danaher has a series on BJJ Fanatics where he has a whole system of attacking the back and, you know, all the concepts that go into hand fighting. That's the best guy to talk to about this, not me. But I'm going to give you some details that'll help you understand what Kron Gracie did and why it was so special. But as I mentioned before, I'm not presenting to you myself as some kind of authoritative expert on back control. I encourage you to seek out those who are to get the final word. But this will help you get started. Yeah? Okay. Let me also make one cautionary note here. I did not like Kron Gracie's stand-up. And you can say, oh, Luke, what do you know? Fine, you can dismiss me if you want. But what he was doing was that Gracie where you raise the leg and then you jump into position, like what Hoist was kind of doing a little bit here. He's kind of, look, if you watch him, he's like flat-footed. And you see that hop that he's doing here? On the ground, I don't know who in that weight class could possibly touch him. On the feet, if that doesn't get cleaned up, it is my belief he'll probably get in a lot of trouble for that. Somebody's going to take advantage of that. That's just my honest opinion. You can tell me I'm an idiot and worthless and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm not guaranteeing someone will, but it just seems kind of inevitable that if they stuff the takedown and they can get their back off the fence and they can circle and put the jab behind it, that's going to get him in trouble. Different story for a different time. Okay. So he does this, look at that thing. I mean, this is straight out of UFC 1. I'm not kidding. These Gracie guys, man, they live and breathe it. And you can understand why. You know, I mean, if your family was responsible for the creation of modern MMA in many ways and certainly helped create the UFC, you might feel that way too. But in any event, so this is the thing they do. They use this as a range finder, and they're trying to usually duck under a punch. Usually from here, what they're looking for, body lock underneath your armpits. And from there, they do all kinds of things. Right, so let's watch. He helps them measure the range. He comes in. It's exactly what you see. You see a punch. You think they're coming in. He extends, and then he gets under it, body lock. So this is all he ever wanted. From here, I'm not going to say the fight's over, but he's in big trouble, Alex Caceres is. All right, so what does he do? He secures the grip, and then you can see, watch him lean his head up and over. Right, he's throwing him by with his own cabeza, right? This way, leaning him over. Go back and watch this one more time. Look, he's here. He's going to look up and over the back, and that's going to help him get behind. He's going to re-secure the grip. All right, he's going to put the hook in, kind of, sort of, and then it looks like he's going to walk him back to the fence. All right, what is he looking for here? What you're going to see what he's looking for is a couple of things, but you want to pay attention to the left arm. We've talked about back control before. We're going to go into some of the concepts here in just a second. But what you're looking for is he has one arm going underneath the armpit, and he wants one arm over the top. The one over the top always touches the chest, blade out, hand on top, right? So the way I was taught was, imagine you're stabbing somebody. It's sort of a morbid way to think about it, but okay, it's an illustrative way to understand it. This is the stab. This secures the stab. The one that comes under the arm secures the stab, and it's that seatbelt. So you have the one arm that's coming over the top, that is the stabbing arm. That's going to be your choking arm, at least initially. You may have to switch those things, but the one that's sagging over the top typically is your choking arm. This arm is going to go underneath the left arm of Caceres. It's the right arm. You're going to see he struggles to get on top, and Caceres knows he cannot give that to him, but it's like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Oh, I have an underhook on Khabib Nurmagomedov. No, you don't. What he does is he lets you get a shallow underhook, then he pins it to himself, gets palm to palm, and then takes you in that direction as a blocking mechanism. He does something as a similar concept here. All right, so what's he going to do? Everyone saw him put the hook in, and you're going to see him go around the hook, and then he's going to put it on the back of the hamstrings of the left leg. Now, why is he doing that? Right, and you can see him, look, you can see Kron trying to get this right arm over the top. That's what he wants. He wants the stab and the secure of the stab. That's what he's looking for, right? And Caceres doesn't want to give it to him, because if you're Caceres and you have both arms coming underneath and you can hold them, you're not going to win that way, but you're definitely not going to get choked. If you hold both of their hands and both of their wrists and you secure and they can't move, what can they do? They can't headbutt you. They can't pick you. They can't lift you. They can't do anything. Maybe you fall to the ground, but there's no choke there. So he's He just looks like he's in, again, remember the levels of jiu-jitsu. Survive, defend, attack. This is defend/survival. That is attack. All right? So he's just trying to find his way. Now, I want you to pay attention to that right here. What is that? Okay, there's probably a lot of mechanisms to this one, but it's a few things. One, I think it will impede some of the ability of Caceres to walk. If someone's got a hook on this leg and behind you, there's just a natural impediment to motion. Number two, what he's looking for is some kind of way to secure himself to get to the back without having both hooks in yet. This is even though a hook would go over the hips, this is a placeholder that's going to allow him, imagine like a stirrup in a trying to get on top of a horse. You step in that stirrup and then other ways to then get on top. He's already got the one hook in, but this will help him control the hips a little bit and the movement of Caceres while providing himself on the back of the hamstrings as an anchor to then pull and shift weight and whip around. That's what that is. It's a placeholder to help glue himself to off balance and then to make sure he can ultimately secure proper position. And now you see he's got the secure of the stab. He's looking for the stab, okay? So that's what he's got going here. Folks are wondering what this is. Yeah, there might be other functions to it. There might be other setups from that. I don't know them. Again, that's why I encourage you to talk to a full-on expert about it. But for sure, it's going to do that for him. You're going to see it when he hops up. Now, he's got double unders from behind, but that's not ultimately what he needs. And by the way, you know, he's not worried about getting single-legged, even though he could get the arm and drop here, because if you take Kron down, you can just take Kron down. But the angle there is a little loose. All right, so he's finding. I want to pay attention to the clock here. It's 3:50-ish or so, yeah? All right, so here's what he's going to do. He's trying to find that moment. He's hand fighting back there. He's going to step around. Now watch this. He steps around. Again, he's still got double unders. He does not want double unders from the back. He wants under and over. All right, one choker. There he is. You see him pull it out. He's trying to get it around, and he can't quite get it. So he does something kind of interesting to do it, and you can see him hand fighting back here, and I can't quite tell all the sequence, but here's what it looks like to me. So you see him coming out here. Caceres is trying to hold him with the wrist here because he doesn't want it coming over the top, but it turns out that that's not enough. In fact, it looks like that's all he needs to do this. So once he gets this, here's what he does. Look at this. Watch the switch. Once Caceres holds the wrist, it looks like there's a wrestling to the point where the arms comes out in front. And when it does, it bends. And when it bends, you're going to see, look at that. See that? So it comes out on top, that elbow. Now, what happens is Caceres has occupied his hands. He had used that other hook as a way to anchor himself to come up and around. But what he's going to do is he's going to use this to block that side and then lean heavy. So no, he doesn't have the strangling arm yet, but what he does have is a way to block that side. So when he comes around, Caceres wants to brace himself. And look, he just leans over and pulls him down. By the way, that must be incredibly stressful on the knees. And they drop just like that. And now he has his far side securing arm, which he's going to get right there. And when he rolls through, by the way, notice he rolls him off of his base. Do you notice that? He doesn't let him sit here. He rolls him through, and even though Caceres is on this elbow, he does not allow someone to be on their base. Like BJ Penn, when he finished rear naked chokes, what did he do? He would snatch you off of your base. You can build from your base. So we don't want to do that. So he takes him off of the base. Caceres does not want to allow this overhand strangling arm, but it doesn't matter. They hand fight. He just extends to the point where he can no longer extend. The guy with the higher hips is going to be able to just pull further back. Just think about it realistically. Unless your arms are like twice the length, you don't have the mobility to pull them back. So he just yanks it back at a far enough angle and then comes over the top. So now he has basically everything he wants. You are on the ground. He has the strangling arm. He has the securing arm. He does not have the far side hook yet, but that's simply a matter of time. He's already ready to do it. And once he rolls you just a little bit, it's going to sneak through. Again, 3:35 on the clock here. Pay attention. So they go to the ground at 3:35. Watch how clinical this is by him. It's outrageous how good he is. Now, a couple of concepts, look at this. By the way, he doesn't have that knee all the way through. So as a placeholder, he's going to bring that around and secure the waist like that. So now Caceres can't slide his hips out and around. This will act as a blocking because I believe he tucks the instep. Yep, see that? Caceres already knows if I can just get my hips to the mat, maybe I might have a fighting chance to roll out of this. Again, there's different ways to do that, but as long as you don't, back control is two ways. It's the harness, well, I should say, it's the harness up top, and it's also the use of the hooks, all right? So he does that to stop any kind of roll and then uses that instep. See that instep here? Right here. He uses that to block while he pulls the knee out. Just like this. Whoop. And then extends him a little bit, yeah? At the same time. Caceres wants out of it and he can't get it, so he just sort of rolls through. Some concepts about back control, as I mentioned, it's two parts. It's here and it's here. Here's another one that a lot of people get wrong. They'll use the body triangle and then use that to hold somebody, and it will hold somebody, but it doesn't account for why you also have to be controlling the upper body as well. So it's a tight way to keep somebody there, but it's not a tight way to get anywhere close to a finish. Number two, your chest has to be locked to their back. No daylight on that thing. Now, there'll be times where, of course, in a real live fight situation, you might lose it. But as a concept, you are glued to that person. Your head is right next to theirs. Your hips are slightly above, which puts you in the control position. He has everything. Hips are above his. Look at that. Tight, head to head, all that stuff. By the way, in a real life fight situation, you want to get head to head because they can headbutt. But if your head is pressed against theirs, it eliminates some of that risk, and you can guard it and tuck it exactly where you need to. Now, on hand fighting, what you're looking for is a lot of different things. I don't have time to get into all of it. What you're looking for is the guy with the high hand. If my hand is on top of your hand, typically I might be, not always, but typically I might be in an advantageous position. And it depends where you want to grip. Some people go to the knuckle. Some people want to pull up the hand this way. Again, seek out other opinions on this, but that's kind of a baseline of what you're looking for. You're looking for high hand. What I want you to know something is, right now, this is the choking arm. You can choke from under, you can choke, you want to lean to the side where the choking arm is. You can finish in a situation where the choking arm is on this side. You can do it where the choking arm is up, but typically you want to be on a side where you're finishing. Not always, it's not a hard and fast rule, but if I'm Caceres, I'm thinking about this right now. So what you want to pay attention to with the hand fighting is Caceres is in the red, Kron is in the blue. What Kron does is Kron tricks Caceres into going 2-on-1. So then he tricks him, he pulls the securing arm out, then that goes against the throat. By the time Caceres realizes it, it's too late, and what you're going to see is a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, when they make the transition to MMA, the gloves get in the way. Kron already knows what to do. Watch him. I cannot grab your glove, but I can grab my glove all day. So what he does is he confuses him with 2-on-1, snakes the arm through, and then takes his own glove, almost like it's a jiu-jitsu lapel grip, like it's they call this a cat's paw grip in jiu-jitsu, where I take the sleeve. So there's the motorcycle grip, and then there's the cat's paw grip like this. He takes the inside and just cat's paw grip, pulls it over on his own glove, and once he gets to the securing position, it's over. So let's watch how he does it here a little bit. So again, what you're watching for is, so let's pay attention to the mechanics here, right? So this is Kron's arm, but who has the high hand? Caceres does, okay? And here's Kron, but it's tucked underneath. So right now, in this moment, Caceres is doing okay with hand fighting. Watch how Kron sets this up, all right? So Caceres secures the securing hand himself. He gets the high hand, so that's better. Couple of punches to soften up Caceres. Let's move here a little quicker. Soften it up. Then he comes across to the face like this, over the top of the hands to pull it up. So what does that do? That causes Caceres to grab with his right. And as he pulls it across, he pretends to pull the arm up and over. Caceres goes 2-on-1 here, right? So you look at Caceres' hands. And by the way, you'll see as he pulls up, Kron grabs his own. He grabs his own blade of his own hand. Let me pull up here a little bit, right? He grabs his own blade of his own hand. And what ends up happening is now look at Caceres. Caceres has 2-on-1 on the high hand. As soon, look, go back here, right? As soon as Kron feels the 2-on-1, he lets go of the securing arm, or tries to for a second there. Can't quite get it, right? Caceres goes back to it, all right? And you see him turn and pull. So the hands are attached to the top of Kron. Kron pulls, so naturally, Alex Caceres' arms go with him, right? Oop, let me pull this down. Here we are. He tries to re-secure that right side. He tries to get it again while having that left arm kind of still underneath. Caceres goes 2-on-1. Once again, Kron this time, pay attention to this. Pay attention to that. Kron sneaks it out, feels the 2-on-1, gets behind. So Caceres is still worried about this one, not knowing that the left hand is coming. And what happens is he pulls it off a little bit. Now watch what he does here. This is just nasty. Hold on. Watch this. Look how far back the hand is already. Okay, hold on. Here we were, right? Sneaks it through, pulls it back, and within, a hair's breadth, he's already got it through. Caceres is still fighting the wrong hand. So Kron takes his own glove. Look at that. Once Caceres lets go, he takes his own glove and pulls it to secure. Let me zoom out here. He's pulling on his own glove about 20 seconds after they hit the ground. And then from there, they used to teach this, but, you know, almost like an up yours to finish it. Now they just teach sort of coming in on the side to secure. And I want to show you one more detail that's really important that a lot of folks don't realize. All right? Caceres goes to pull the high hand off, which is correct. You can finish someone with a rear naked choke with one arm, but it's very difficult to do. All right? So he pulls that off. Watch what Kron does. Not only does he switch grips here for just a second, he pulls it back, leaves the securing hand. This is what I love. He strips the grip. But what do you notice about the grip stripping? A lot of times what happens is you get beginners who want to like play with the gi, they'll grab a grip and then, or you'll grab one of theirs and they'll strip the grip and let it go. And they'll use these big motions to get it off. Kron just does this. His hands barely leave his body. He's not doing this. He's not pulling it off like this. He's not popping a grip in a super hard way. He's just, watch this. Watch how far his hands move. Watch this. Watch how little it travels. Pop just to break it and goes right back. Folks, that looks like it's easy to do. It's not. You have to know just how to slide someone off. You have to have the physical discipline to pull it back in, and he had all of that. And then, once he sinks the choke, it's a wrap. He tries pulling on it again. Folks, notice this. What happens is he goes 2-on-1 here, and he switches again. He just pulls it back behind him, like in a circular way, resets it, and then he's going to just tuck it underneath the backhand like that, and then use his chin right there as the securing mechanism. Once the chin comes sort of over the wrist/forearm, he just like that, he's going to lean his head into it and then drive it past. Oop, low battery. Like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all she wrote. Put the thumbnail back up. We'll go to the Cain Velasquez one very quickly. Just want to point out, that is like next level finishing. That wasn't necessarily next level defense from Alex Caceres, but he did the best he could given the skills that he had, and certainly we have to appreciate that. People are in high level MMA are not good finishers from the back. When you see somebody who's a good finisher from the back, it'll take your breath away a little bit. All right, hold on just a second. Don't put up the thing yet. Let's get past this. Blah, 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 blah. All right, put it back up here. Real quickly, what happened to Cain? Was it a knee? Was it a punch? Actually, you can put the thumbnail back up. We'll go right to it here for just a second. I don't want to do more than we have to. Bop, bop, bop. All right. Here we go. Okay. Go ahead. Real quickly, I went back and I watched the Travis Browne fight at UFC 200. What lesson could I infer from that? The lesson I inferred was that it took him about 2 minutes to really adjust to Travis Browne. From 5 to 3 and then 3 to the stoppage are two different fights. In fact, in that first 2 minutes, Travis Browne popped Cain Velasquez's head back several times. And so my thought was, the question was, either he's going to get a takedown earlier or he's going to have to take some shots along the way. Are those going to stop him? I do believe that it was partly at least a punch that did it. So watch here. He gets kind of hammer-fisted, or like, not really, but he goes for a shot, can't get it. By the way, his takedown defense is so much more reactive, jacking the underhook up on the securing side and then turning, right? All right, so here we go. He kind of falls. It's kind of hard. Like, what hit him here? That punch. Watch the right hand. Watch the right hand of Ngannou here. It's going to go this way, right? Bop. Hard to tell, though. Okay, so from that angle. And then he falls and blah, 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 blah. Let's look at it from another angle. All right? So nothing there exactly. Hits him here. Okay, all right. Jacks the underhook up, which I like to see. Turns at the same time. Doesn't just jack it up and stay in place. He jacks it up and turns his body at the same time, right? Oh, that's good stuff. Okay, nothing there. But watch the right hand of... Watch this. Let's see if we can see anything. Pop. Yeah. Pop. And then, as he tried to get his footing, everything just collapsed on him. Now, I don't think it rocked him. I don't think he was like, ugh. But even if it just off-balances you for a second, right? Here's the last angle. Again, jacks the underhook and turns his hips, right? Pushes him up with the punch. Misses there. Again, watch the right hand of... We're watching this. We're watching this, okay? Let's watch. Pop. Hard for me to believe that's not a punch. And then when he goes to set his feet, he can't, because I think he was temporarily wobbled. So like when Cain's like, no, it didn't hurt, I believe him, actually. I don't think he thinks that's the reason, but I don't know how you account for this. And by the way, understand, like, an uppercut is like typically like through the center, even for a lead uppercut, right? It's nice. The nice power is, you're twisting your hips through the middle. Anybody who lifts weights, you guys know what a pec deck machine is? Joe, you know what a pec deck? Of course you don't, Joe. You disappoint me so greatly, son. A pec deck machine, people do them wrong all the time, but a pec deck machine is the kind where you sit in the chair and you go here and you grab a lever and then you pull together. People will do them as cable flies sometimes. Here's a tip for you. Do them one hand at a time and then bring it across your body. Rather than bringing it to a bear together and your knuckles together, do it one-handed and go across. You can feel it at the edge of your pec much better when you do it that way. And you're getting all the way across. Look how much further you have to travel. But you're weakest here. Dude, look at this punch. It's across his body. It's not quite a pec deck workout, but it's across. Look at that. Bink. And then he just collapses. And I think his foot does slip when he tries to react. It's probably both, right? He gets hit, he tries to find his footing, and he can't. So it's a little bit of both. But the power you must have to go across your body like that, that is bonkers. You can put the thumbnail back up. So we'll talk more about this, I think, in the sound off. I think there were a bunch of calls about it. I'll get Danny's opinion on it later. But today's lesson is less about that. It's more about Kron Gracie. It is amazing that we are this far into MMA and you're seeing lost arts. Guys are just taking advantages of gaps in the game. One of those gaps, getting to the back, securing the back, holding the back, finishing the back. Kron Gracie is about as expert as it gets in that regard. Good luck fighting that guy on the ground, because you are gonna need it. Big bank, take little bank, 84s and candy paint. That's the Monday Morning Analyst, folks.